here in the perimeter, there are no stars. Out here, we is stoned, immaculate.
Hello and welcome. This is the C86 show. I'm David Eastaugh. As you know, we love a special guest. This week it's going to be the turn of Thomas Leer, who I spoke to very recently to find out more about life, love, poetry and all that other groovy stuff. Has been making music for over 5 decades, and I will put a link to his website in the notes below, but obviously had a prolific sort of career sort of spanning from the 70s into the sort of 80s and beyond, and also was part of the 1980s electro-pop band ACT. But we'll find out about that and so much more. So after several minutes of interesting but casual chat, we get to the exciting subject of the early formative years. Thomas, it's over to you.
Well, I probably had a few of them at various points.
Yes, well, absolutely.
But I didn't have a. I mean, the first thing I ever got into was the Monkees.
Right, classic.
See, that'd be before your time.
Well, yes, but they were slightly about, because I think there was some TV show that they were on that there wasn't a lot of channels to watch, but I do remember being very struck by the easy listening vibe and songs and things like the banana splits as well.
Banana splits. Yeah.
We thought America was very exciting, and then I had no sort of at that point idea that the Monkees were incredibly uncool because they were this band.
No, I think I was about 14 or something at that time. To me, it was my introduction into pop music, really.
Yes, and
seeing these guys on TV larking about and singing these. I mean, actually, the songs were really pretty good songs. They were written by like Neil Diamond and Carole King and people like that.
Yes, you can't fault them once one gets over that kind of strange teenage elitism, I suppose, or I don't know, trying to be cool when you're a bit older.
I would say they were my version of Take That.
Perfect.
You have to start somewhere.
Yes, well, I suppose I would have, like I said, it was glam, but before glam, there was Cilla Black. Actually, there was a song, a series she did in the 60s called Cilla, and the introduction, and she did a song called "Step Inside Love," and I have to say, I was very struck with that. And then I found that John Lennon and Paul McCartney kind of wrote it, and I thought, that's why it's such a great song.
I think it was McCartney that wrote it by himself.
Right. I think John just liked to add his name to everything, or vice versa, probably. But yes, and I thought, yes, I think they said share and share alike, and we'll sort it out decades later. But it was such a great song. And then, to be honest, my mum was in the kitchen with Radio 2, and there was all those songs like from the Carpenters and Burt Bacharach, and I thought they were all stunning. And I still think they're stunning because lyrically they're beautiful, and yes, musically they're quite exquisite. So. What the hell? That's what I said. But you were that sort of generation, that age where you must have started to sort of sense a sort of change in the 60s happening at this, in your teenage period.
That's what I mean. It sort of suddenly went from, banal stuff like the Monkees, and then discovering the John Peel programme and hearing things like Third Air Band and the Incredible String Band and all this sort of stuff on the radio.
Yes.
And wow, there's another world out there.
There is another world.
It isn't just little happy ditties.
No, well, it's funny you mentioned that.
That would be my first kind of point where I sort of had a bit of an epiphany.
Yes, well,
about music.
The Third Ear Band, which was quite interesting. I was doing another interview the other night about a guy who did. I suppose he went into theatre with a bit of music on the side from Liverpool, Manchester, and he talked about a particular production he did with a member of the Third Ear Band during the 80s called Ursula Pank, or Ursula Smith, who was the cellist and violinist in that band. She lives in East Anglia, actually, so I did an interview with her quite recently, and because she became part of that East Anglian fairs and festivals in the 70s, which was quite a bit of a hippie gig, and then she went into the Norwich Philharmonic Orchestra. So yes, so the Third Ear Band have been on in my consciousness this week quite a lot, really.
Yeah, I liked them.
Yes.
Well, I liked everything on John Peel, really. Everything he played, from
And did you ever come across a band who slightly started in Scotland called Clouds or 123? They were sort of a very early, they were almost the first ever prog band in existence, and it featured a keyboard player called Billy Ritchie, who
I've heard of Billy Ritchie. Because you see, I did have like a sort of a career in Scotland before I ever even made any records in England.
right,
I mean, my real career started when I went to London.
yes.
But I did have a kind of a career before that.
Did you
And I played
were your
well.
were your parents at all musical or had
No, no. Well, I mean, my dad was a good singer, but
yes, you were
he
born
wasn't.
in was it Glasgow?
Port Glasgow, yeah.
Right, so that was it. So then when you got to that ripe old age of 16, that was 1969, it was just around did the Summer of Love ever touch Glasgow
Yeah.
at all?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right, there you go. What was it like for a young teenager in Glasgow
Well, it's
experiencing the
kind of weird because I mean, we had a great club up there called the Maryland, that where everybody who was anybody on the John Peel show would play there. So every Friday and Saturday night there was really great people.
yes,
Like bands like Curved Dare and all these sort of groups, early prog rock bands.
beautiful.
And I
Yes.
also played live at that time in a band. I was in a band called Flesh and Blood.
Oh, that's
And
it.
we used to support groups like the Stoics, which you've probably never heard of. But the Stoics had a singer called Frankie Miller,
Right.
who became big in the 70s with his own solo career. He was Scotland's Rod Stewart.
Right. Okay. Because Alex Harvey was around during that
Yeah,
period.
we supported Alex Harvey as well.
Right, so he was there, and I have to confess, and you'll probably roll your eyes at this point, but I did have a bit of a fondness for a lot of 70s, and doing this show has given me the opportunity to interview some of them, including Middle of the Road, which I did think they it was quite interesting. I interviewed the singer and I think the drummer actually, and they talked about their early period in the 60s of just playing the clubs around Scotland. And so was the live music scene a very sort of dynamic kind of part of growing up?
Yeah, well, yeah. And every weekend we'd be going off playing gigs and stuff. But I mean, no, I wasn't that great. It's kind of pretty dull actually.
Right. Apart from the John Peel show.
And the thing about being in Scotland at that time was that you knew you weren't going to get anywhere if you
Right.
just stayed in Scotland, which a lot of people did. But that's why everybody eventually moved to London to get record contracts and so on. You
Yes.
know, like there was another band called the Poets, who became the Average White Band.
Oh, yes.
But they only became the Average White Band when they went to London.
Yes, band. Yes, that was. So did with the John Peel show, because I've always been obsessed with Mr. Peel for lots of reasons. In a good way, not in a weird way. But he was this the Perfume Garden that you were listening to at this point in the 60s?
Yeah.
Right, so you were
I think
listening
it was a Saturday afternoon show to start with. For quite
Yes.
a long time. He only came on once a week on a Saturday afternoon. And then eventually he got his nightly show.
Right, because I think
Quite
when he
nice.
was on the pirate's ship, it was something called the Perfume Garden. They just didn't know what he was doing at night, and they all obviously just said, just have fun. It's all going to come to an end. So he just played
That was
6
on the
hours of
boats.
yes.
Yeah.
So that was 6 hours of him playing Captain Beefheart and all the usual sort of blues stuff and yes, Frank Zappa stuff and Jimi Hendrix and Jefferson Airplane and bands like that, which was very exciting. So when you got to 16, which was 69, and the 60s was about to close, did you leave school at that age, or did you stay on for further education?
I left school at 15.
Right. So
And
you
went
were
straight to became a gardener's apprentice
okay in Scotland.
in Scotland, yeah.
Yes. How long did you do the gardening for?
Well, I never finished the apprenticeship. I did 4 years apprenticeship. And then I just got sick of it because I was into music. I wanted to do music. And that's when I chucked the job and went off to London 50 quid in my pocket.
Blimey, was that 73 time?
I would be like in 71 or 72 maybe.
Right, there you go.
My memories fails me now. I'm old and haggard, so my brain is fogged.
Yes, well, that is only, we're talking 54 years ago. I'm not surprised we haven't completely remembered everything from that period. Did that, as you were there sort of through those harsh winters of gardening, which was much different in our days, because, yes, let's face it, it was a very harder period weather-wise. Did you, when the 60s came to an end, did you have a sort of a bit of an awareness of people like Hendrix dying and Joplin and Morrison, the Beatles breaking up? Did it feel like, God, because at that time, I mean, we look back and realise it continues, but there was this potential sense that the 60s weren't going to last that long, or pop music wasn't going to last that long.
I don't think I didn't think anything like that, no.
No, you didn't have that.
No, I was quite happy with what was going on. I think I was a kind of a funny age because it was too young to have been like a mod in the 60s. I was too young for that.
Yes.
So I became a hippie in the crossover period coming into I was a 70s hippie, which was kind of different because we weren't a part of that wonderful, colourful thing in the 60s. It was a different vibe. We were more like sort of walking around with loon pants on and carrying albums under her and all that sort of stuff, great coats.
Yes, we did copies of IT magazine and Gandalf's Garden.
IT, I used to read that in Oz.
Yes, and that sort of the smell of patchouli in the air as well, which was good. So did that sort of period, because my brother was he was 7 years older than me, he was very into prog rock, so I would sneak into his room to listen to these albums by Yes and Genesis and Wishbone Ash and Barclay James Harvest. Was it more prog that you were interested in than the sort of the kind of the glam world at all?
Well, I liked both. Probably started with prog rock, but I got tired of that really quickly. Yes. And then I discovered like Velvet Underground and people like that. Yes, and that changed my whole sort of headspace. It had a sort of definite kind of earthiness about it. Yes, there wasn't this slick playing thing. And then of course I discovered Krautrock.
Oh yes, that was was it sort of, I don't know, Can and Kraftwerk?
Can and Kraftwerk and Amundul, and all these sort of bands. Faust. Fantastic band. Incredible.
And were you still busily committed to the John Peel show during that period?
Yeah, still tuned into that, yeah.
And
I was already, by that time, I was already totally into music. And I read the music papers every week. I was completely into the whole scene. And it was a religion. Music was like a religion.
Yes. So as you were drifting through London, did you pick up on any communities or any scenes that was kind of happening down in London at that point?
No, because when I went to London, I went to join a band. That was my way of getting out of Scotland, was to go and join a band in London.
Yes.
And at that time I was playing like sax and flute. I wasn't singing, although I'd been a singer before that. So I went to join the band, but that again was another ploy, because me and my mates at the time had decided we wanted to form a commune.
Brilliant. We love communes.
And, do the sort of the self-sufficiency business and all that.
Right. My God. Did you have the book?
Yeah. We had that book. Yeah.
Was this a commune in London that you were trying to set up?
Well, we started in London, yeah. That was where we formed it there.
Right. There you go.
12 of us at that time. We took up a whole flat in Hammersmith. And we were in touch with the commune. There was a commune, I think they called themselves the Communards, but not the band, the Communards.
Yes.
It was just a sort of a scene where people were making communes and communicating with each other.
Yes.
So we were sort of involved in that. And they found a squat for us so that we could house these 12 people.
Excellent, because there was
I
that.
like a lot of that, but it fell apart, in the
Yes,
end.
but we all sort of shared housing seemed fantastic on paper. The reality is often quite horrendous.
Well,
But
the thing is, when you mix it in with dope and people sitting around the room like that, and a fantastic hi-fi, and people just sitting smoking dope all day, listening to great music, nothing gets done.
yeah, they're not going to go out and milk goats and plant
Ah,
and grow
but
carrots,
two
are
or
they?
three of us, we did break away and we went to Wales and lived on a farm. And we tried the self-sufficiency. Robert Rental, the guy who worked for me early on,
Yes.
he was my best mate, Robert.
Right. So Robert Rendell. Yeah. It was interesting because when at the beginning, talking about the third ear band and one of the members, Ursula, she'd sort of taken after the band. Came and lived in East Anglia, and there was a sort of a bit of a movement generally of quite a few people coming out of cities and sort of finding cheap places to rent, like farm cottages or
Yeah,
places like that, which was really cheap in those days. And they
yeah,
went, "Oh, we got this garden, that's brilliant. We'll grow the veg, and then we'll do this, and we'll weave wool, and we'll make our own jumpers." And there was a lot of pottery, a lot of pottery places happening in East Anglia during that period. And then there's these things called the Barsham Fairs. Barsham was a place, and they had these 3-day fairs, which were no electricity. It was all very organic, and people loved it. And that continued for 5 years. And then there was the Albion Fair. So there was a lot of kind of musicians and theatre companies that started to develop. And yeah, so you obviously caught the spirit of that time.
yeah,
Did you make your own bread, by the way?
yeah. We did. Yeah,
Excellent. Crank's cookbook just there, but the Tassajara cookbook. That was brilliant. Oh, the bread book. And John Seymour's self-sufficiency. What you could do with 1 acre, 3 or 5 acres. It was very ambitious, wasn't it? So how long were
it
you
was.
how long were you in the sort of the Welsh lands?
I think 2 years we stayed there.
And was that you, Robert,
Again,
and
again, it fell apart again.
was
Even
it? Did you and Robert were part of that?
yeah, there was Robert and myself and our girlfriends, just four
Right.
of us, and we tried to make it work, and we tried to entice some of the old mob to come back, but they split off in all sorts of directions.
Yes.
Again, music won out again because I just thought, well, I don't want to live here in this little farmhouse, and I want to go and do some music and work in studios and all of that sort of business. So me
Yeah.
and my girlfriend left, and we moved to Edinburgh.
Right. And then what happened in Edinburgh?
Not much. We went there and sort of got jobs and tried to get some money together. I mean, we
Yeah.
needed money to buy equipment and all that sort of stuff. But while we were doing that, this would be like 1976 or 75,
Yes.
and when we were there, of course, the punk thing started to bubble up, or something was happening. I was hearing things from America with like Patti Smith. We'd seen this single, Patti Smith's Piss Factory.
Yes.
Uh, and then there was the Perubu and things like that. We were buying them in the Virgin Records store in Edinburgh. And then, of course, the Pistols arrived. I thought, yes, now we're talking. Let's go to London.
Right.
So that's
So
we just packed our bags and went to London and
yes.
lived in a squat for a year, put a band together. Robert joined us and we formed a band called Pressure.
And that was the beginning of your musical kind of
That
journey at
was the
this.
beginning of my professional career as a
Yes.
musician.
And at that stage, had you started writing songs and sort of,
Yeah.
can you
Well,
remember?
I'd been trying to write for years and, just writing these silly ditties, things like that. And then listening to Peter Hamill, who was a big influence on me at that time, and trying to mimic what he did. And just gradually developed something of my own from that. And by the time we did the punk thing, well, I mean, they were all 3 chords songs. It's easy peasy.
Yes.
So we wrote about 10 songs in about 3 days and went and played the Man in the Moon. And that was us off.
You got it at that stage. Had you started?
Yeah.
Had you been to any Stonehenge festivals or seen Hawkwind at this
No, we used
point?
to go to the Stonehenge Festival when we lived in Wales. We
Right.
went, like, we went twice to that, but we
Yes.
never played there now.
No. So then, as the sort of that punk and then the post punk period, at this stage, did you get yourself a record label at this point?
Not in the punk days, no. We just played gigs, but we were getting a lot of interest from people. But see, what's the word? I get bored really quickly,
Right.
and punk bored me after about 6 months of being in the band. I just thought, this is shit. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do
Right.
something, because I'd always loved electronics, and I'd always messed about with them.
Yes. Had you
And
heard
I really
had you
want,
heard Suicide at this stage?
not at that point, no. I'd only heard of Throbbing Gristle.
Oh wow.
There was a review in the media of them, and I thought they sound interesting.
Yes.
And then we started to hear about other things were bubbling under, but nobody was being written about at that time.
Mm.
So I split the band up and decided to go alone and make my own records. And that's when I put together Private Plane.
Did you at that stage? Did you ever go in the studio with that band? Did you call it Precious? Did you say
Pressure. Yeah.
Pressure? Right. Did you do any recording at that point?
No. I think that we'd got an interest, a guy who wanted to manage us, whose name I can't even remember now. And he was involved with the Kinks or something like that.
Right.
And I think the Kinks had made a studio and they were putting a record label together. And he wanted to get us signed to that record label. But like I said, I wasn't interested. I didn't want to carry on with the pub thing.
No, absolutely.
I wanted to get off.
Yeah, and did you? Because quite recently, or a couple of years ago, there was a great film made about a band who only lasted 8 months, but called Rima Rima. Did you
Yeah, I
sort of?
loved Rima Rima. They were fantastic. Really
Right.
great band.
Yes.
And
Did,
nobody ever talks about them.
well,
Amazing.
there's a whole film now you could watch.
Did they?
There's a fantastic film featuring Chris Conley, who was in various, I don't know, noise bands that came along later. There's even, there was even a perfume made of Rima Rima. There was, if you ever get to see the film, this will all make sense to you. But there was a guy in California who made perfumes through his sensual world. He had something that would mean that when he heard sounds, he then would create a perfume, sort of fragrance. They were mostly 4AD bands, by the way, and a few German bands. But
I had a couple of their records. There's a couple of singles that they put out.
yes, well, I would go and check out what they're doing at the moment, because I think there's another remastered reissue coming out very soon from Gary Asquith. So I'll send you the link to the trailer, because you'll be very excited and slightly amazed that they made them film out of this one band.
They were
But
really original at the time. There was nothing like them.
yes,
Because they were
absolutely.
kind of in the same kind of vein as Pill and people like that.
Yeah, well, it
That's
had
something special. It's a
had
female drummer, I remember.
yes, Dorothy Max Pryor,
That match here.
who was in Throbbing Gristle.
Marco Perroni on guitar.
Yes, Adamant, and then various people who were on 4AD bands later. But actually, they were the first band who, the first release on 4AD was Rima Rima. Interesting pop trivia there for you. Sorry about that. So then you got yourself yes. So Private Plane was your first release, your first time in the studio, was it?
Well, I did it in a flat. We just hired equipment and recorded it at home.
And and at that stage, had you got a record label sort of interested?
No, I just did it myself.
Right, that was that.
My
And
own
what?
label. When I put the first 300 were pressed up personally, and we just did Xeroxed covers. So we just Xeroxed off loads of covers and stuck them on with glue. So it was all handmade. The whole thing was a handmade job.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
cottage industry. And
Was
then
that
a label called Company picked it up after that, and then Cherry Red got involved later on.
yes? Well, we love Cherry Red.
Initially, the first 300 were handmade.
My God, I would love to. Are they changing hands for great money?
I don't know.
I have to have a look, actually. And was this you and your girlfriend sort of still part of the kind of
Yeah.
the cottage industry? So then, when you went to do your next album, or the album, The Bridge, is this when Robert Rental came on board?
Yeah, Robert had also made a single as well at the same time as me. But we actually shared the equipment because we only had enough money to hire for a few days. I think I had 3 days and he had 3 days. And I got the equipment first. I did my record, and then we shipped it over to his flat, set it all up, and then he recorded his track, which I produced for him.
Fantastic! That's
Called,
such a and the NME made it single of the week.
yeah.
Did you
Tony
did
Parsons.
Tony Parsons? My God, did you fall off your chair when you saw that?
Yeah, I did. Couldn't believe it.
Yes.
I
And did
never
John?
expected that. I didn't think anybody would ever even go. I just thought it would go nowhere. So yeah, good old Tony, he picked up on it.
Yes, there you
And
go.
Morley picked up on it after that.
Who picked up on it after that?
Oh, Morley.
Oh, fantastic! God, you got the heavyweights there, haven't you? At
Yeah.
that point. So then, once that project happened, did you and Robert then sort of decide to work together to do the bridge?
Well, that was it was almost foisted upon us in a way. Because Throbbing Gristle wanted us to do something, the two of us. They liked what we were doing, and we'd met them by that point after seeing them at gigs but they only had enough money to allow us to have a side each.
Right.
But when I didn't want to do that, I didn't want us to, just my side and his side. Thought, look, why don't we just do it together? Because we had been jamming together and stuff like that.
Yes.
So I knew we could do something. And so we both agreed that that's what we would do. So we made a Leer and Rental record.
God, that was rather kind of fantastic timing, wasn't it? Did again, was that recorded in your flat, or did you go
It
to a
was
studio?
recorded in Robert's flat.
Right.
We had
So
all Throbbing Gristle brought all the gear there, and we set it all up there. So we had a kind of makeshift studio, and Robert's partner moved out for the week. And so the two of us just stayed there in that flat for the whole week and recorded it in a week. Wrote it and recorded it. We had nothing prepared.
that's yes.
We just decided to switch the tapes on and go for it.
My God, it's incredible time. And again, I think from sort of doing these in shows and business, I think one of the fortunate bits was there were the gatekeepers. There was the 3 weekly music papers. There was also people like John Peel, so you could sort of feel that those kind of artistic endeavors, which were quite obscure, would at least get some traction. And and having John Peel play things for me, most people, when they started making music, they had no idea, of any ambition to sort of make it a career. It was just like, God, if we can we could do all this work, get John Peel to play it, and even do a John Peel session. That's it. We'll be happy at that. That was the height of that.
That's where I was. I would have been happy with that. In fact, I was over the moon when he played my record on the show.
Yes, well, absolutely.
I mean, that was like a big deal to hear it actually playing on the radio, and John Peel introducing it. What a great track. Fantastic.
Yes.
I've arrived.
Well, absolutely. And did that period, I mean, it's always a bit weird when decades change. In 79, Thatcher gets in, then there's the Falkland War, the miners' strike, Greenham Common. What was that like for you in London at this point, sort of navigating your sort of life, trying to sort of survive? And
well, it didn't really seem to touch us much. I mean, I was aware that was going on, but we were relatively okay. We lived with Liz's mother for a while, my partner. So we had somewhere decent to stay and set up my equipment in and all of that sort of stuff. And then, I mean, after the bridge, of course, I got a contract with Cherry Red. So I had
Right.
money in the bank.
Yes.
We were pretty well okay. I mean, it wasn't like we weren't rich, but we had, we could eat and we could clothe ourselves and pay the rent and so on.
Yes, absolutely. So then Cherry Red came on board, and that was when you did the 4-track EP, Four Movements.
4 Movements, yeah.
And again, was that all written and recorded? Really?
Again, they just, I didn't have any gear at that point, and Mike Alway, do you know Mike Alway at Cherry Red?
Oh, yes, because he's got a label. Because I did an interview with a guy who wrote a book about him called, L Records.
L Records, yeah.
Yes.
You're an eccentric character.
Yes. And he was very good at creating kind of a scene.
Yeah, he was a very smart guy, really interesting guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lovely book, and the guy who, amazing, and he's still with us, isn't he? Just sort of archiving away is it Norway he lives, or Scandinavia now?
I don't know. I've just lost touch with Mike a long time ago.
Yes. So he was the person who signed you.
Work with, really fantastic.
Yeah. Well,
and he arranged for to get me an 8-track tape recorder on loan from Morgan Fisher, who was on Cherry Red at that time. I think he used to be the keyboard player for Queen.
Right. God, there's so many great touches, aren't there, actually? So you must have felt... So you did your first one, Four Movements, and then All About You as well on Cherry Red. At this stage, were you getting into quite a creative pattern of sort of putting work together?
Yeah, well, once I had sort of mastered the tracking thing with the 8-track tape machines and stuff, I was off and running. Because in fact, I mean, I'd already had a bit of a grounding in that, because years before that, I had a stereo tape recorder that you could bounce tracks back and forward, called Sound on Sound.
Right.
So you could do a kind of multi-track type thing, and I used to do that. A bit of acoustic guitar, then bang on some bongos and sing a song over the top. So I kind of was pretty well versed anyway in the whole idea of multi-tracking. And so I just did it. Just every day I just got up, switched the gear on, and off I went. And some good things came out of it, some terrible things came out of it.
Well, yes, absolutely. But then, probably the terrible things sounded quite interesting. So when you did Letter from America and Contradictions, are these kind of the collections of the EPs and singles put together at this point?
And well, no, Four Movements was on its own first. That had Letter from America and Don't and West End. These kind of tracks were, and get what the other one was called now. Doesn't matter.
What?
Yeah.
Tight as a Drum.
Tight as a Drum, which is actually my favourite of all my early tracks. I think it's one of the best things I ever did.
Yes.
But that was a 4-track EP. And then they wanted me to do an album. But I didn't want to do a 33 in the third album. I wanted to do a double album that would be 2 12-inchers.
Right.
12 inches was all the thing at the time. And I thought that would be a good angle on it, rather than have just one album running at 33. Let's have 2 albums running at 45. So and again, see, a lot of labels would have told you to fuck off, because that's going to cost too much or whatever.
Yes.
Period were really cool about things like that. And because Mike was open to sort of off the wall ideas, they did it. But then they reissued Contradictions after that with 4 Movements and all that on it.
Yes.
So combined them all together.
Yes.
But they were 2 separate projects.
Yes. And were you kind of also paying attention to the kind of the musical landscape and the change
Yeah,
in sort of producers and equipment that was happening during that period.
yeah, yeah.
Were you quite kind of were you acquiring more instruments and sort of gear at this point?
Yeah, well, I was getting more synths and more recording equipment and stuff like that. I mean, I was hungry for it. I just wanted gear. Just feed me lots of gear. I wanted to work with loads of gear. I didn't really want to go into studios much because I'd had experience in studios in Scotland and I didn't like it. The whole thing of going in and being with an engineer and all of that. I like just sitting at the desk by myself and having everything at my fingertips.
Yes. Well, it's quite nice creating your own scene. Then, so
Yeah.
Arista came along and signed you at this point. Was that quite an
Yeah.
exciting moment? Did you have a bidding war at this point?
Not really, no. They were the first label. Well, no, there was a couple of labels. See, before that, I'd been working with Jeff Travis from Rough Trade.
Right.
He was looking to form a new label on his own. He was leaving Rough Trade to form his own label. And it was going to be called Red Guitar. And at that point, he had Scott Walker and me, and we were going to be the main acts on this label. So then we spent about 3 or 4 months, the two of us, going around other labels like Chrysalis and Charisma and those sort of people, trying to get us a deal with them to set this label up. But
Yes.
it just wasn't happening. It was taking too long. And then Arista came on the scene. This guy who was like a cigar on legs and said, what do you want, kid? And, I said, well, I want a Fairlight. Okay. And I want this amount of money. Okay. Right. We're on.
Well, yes, sign up. Who wouldn't? So, God, that must have been quite the. Well, how did you manage to get all this stuff in your flat or house?
Oh, it was a
Move the
big,
bed
big
out, really.
room.
Yeah, it's just get rid of the sofa, really, at that stage. So then, when you were making that album, which was titled "The Scale of 10," did
Hmm.
your creative process change at all at this point?
Well, yeah, because I had this machine, this Fairlight, which a completely unique system, especially at that time. I mean, it's pretty sort of old hat now, but at that time, to have 8 tracks on a computer that you could play around with and you could loop and turn, and sample sounds into it, create your own sounds into it. That was
Yes,
amazing.
I would have
And
meant.
I had a system where I had that synchronized up to a Lindrum, so they would run in tandem with each other. And then I could use my 8-track tape recorder hooked up to them as well and synchronize that. So I had about 16 tracks in my living room that all worked in sync. So it was kind of like I'm my own personal 16-track studio, really.
God, that's yes. Well, that must have been. So when you were putting that album together, did you start collaborating or using other musicians quite a lot at this point?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's when I did go into the studio to do that album. I did it all the preparations were all done in my home studio, all the programming for the film. But then we would take it into the studio and lay them all onto tape and bring in that was the producer I was working with was Paul Hardiman.
Right.
I'd worked with Matt Johnson because I'd done a lot of work with Matt before that, and that's when I met Paul and
Okay.
decided that he was the right producer for me.
Yes. Because had you sort of come across some bizarre records? Was that one of those
Yeah,
labels?
Steve approached me to go on that first record, and I turned him down,
Right.
and which was a bad move, I think. I should have said yes,
Yes. That
but
was
I just I didn't want to be a part of any scene. I didn't want to, because he put it to me as being a part of a new scene of futurists and all that. No, I'm not interested in being a part of any scene.
Right.
So I just doing my own thing, you know.
Yes, well, absolutely. Who else was on?
I already knew Matt before that, before Steve-O, when he was on the, what label was he on?
God.
He did a solo album on it. That was the label Rima were on.
There was 4AD.
4AD, yeah, he did an album for 4AD.
Right.
And when I first met him, he was just like about 15 or something like that. He was just a really young kid.
So I think he did Burning Blue Soul on
Burning Blue
4AD.
Soul, yeah.
And there was people like, did he work with Mark Armand as well on Soft Cell?
Yeah, later on I think he did, yeah.
And did various bits, but then, yeah, it was quite amazing, really, actually. Yes, quite the band during the sort of 80s, wasn't it, actually, and 90s. But yes, so that would never happen. So was that generally, because you brought in, did you work with Anne Dudley on that album?
Yeah, I got on to do the string arrangement on one track, number one.
Right.
String arrangements on it.
Yes, and you played with a lot of drummers and percussionists at this time.
Yeah, we got a guy who'd been in, what was the name of the band?
Was this Blair Cunningham?
Leer Cunningham, yeah.
And David Palmer as well.
He was in, but he was really great. He was like congas and bongos and stuff like that.
Yes.
And then I had David Palmer from ABC. He played on a track called Warm.
Right.
So there was somebody else. I can't remember his name.
Yes.
We had loads of guys in it we never actually used.
Right.
Came in and played and we never used their work.
There was Andy
from
Duncan.
Dixie's Midnight Runners and places like that, and all sorts of different characters.
Yes. How long did that project take from
6 months, I think.
God, that must have been quite intense.
It was a long haul. And we changed studios constantly. We started off in the garden, John Fox's studio. And
right.
Most of the tracks were laid in there. And then we moved to Genetic, which was Martin Rushent's studio. That was away out in the country.
Right.
And then the very last studio we went to was the Farmyard. That was Rupert Hine. Remember Rupert Hine?
God, the name rings a bell.
Yeah, he was a solo artist, and he had a hit with the Lone Ranger. He had a band together, and they made this single called The Lone Ranger.
Right.
That would be early 80s, 81, 82.
Because he worked with a lot of kind of people like Howard Jones.
He worked with Howard Jones, yeah. Because he recorded in that studio too.
Crikey, yes. So
fact, I met him there I came to him because it was a live-in studio. I came downstairs for my breakfast and he was sitting on the couch. Howard Jones.
Right, because I mean there was. What do you do?
Yeah.
Where's the kettle? Yes, God, that must have been quite neat. Was it kind of Did you ever record at Rockfield Studios? Did you ever have one of those?
Wales, no.
Yeah, I just wondered if you had any of those residential. Did you keep in touch with Robert at that stage?
Yeah, I think we were still in touch, but we didn't see much of each other because I mean my time was literally taken up every single day in the studio. So, and if I wasn't in the studio, I had to go up to Arista to do promos and talk to this department and that department. It's a big company at Arista.
Yes, I would imagine there was a lot of pressure to deliver at this stage, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't let that bother me.
No, I would imagine
I just delivered what I wanted to deliver. That's why I didn't have any hits.
Did you ever want to play live? Did you ever sort of?
No.
Never.
Not at that point. I'd been in live bands for years before that, and I hated it. every time I did it, I hated it.
Yes.
I just didn't enjoy standing in front of an audience, especially
Yes.
as a lead singer. I didn't like being a lead singer. I didn't mind it so much when I was playing an instrument. When I was a guitarist or something, I was just playing guitar.
Nice.
But being
not...
the front person, I just didn't like. And the thing about one of the beauties about the 80s is you didn't have to do that because it was the age of the video.
Yes, well,
Everybody just made videos.
Well, I know. I think that's why I was a bit amazed, how big a lot of the bands were in America. Because if they made a video, MTV, which were a bit desperate for videos, just went, "Yeah, that'll be fine. We'll play it." And obviously, to a massive audience. So yes, I couldn't believe it. A Flock of Seagulls was huge, and it was like I couldn't understand why. But it's, oh yes, they were just on MTV on constant repeat. When the album came out, how was it received? By the way.
Pretty well. No, it wasn't a massive joy. I think there was one bad review I got, and the other. I mean, the others were good reviews, but not great.
No,
it wasn't like the Lexicon of Love.
No, or Frankie's.
Everybody loved that, and everybody said it was brilliant and great, so on. I didn't get that kind of treatment.
And then obviously there was the ZTT records and that kind of world of Trevor Horn production and stuff like that. Were you kind of interested in that kind of world that had developed with ABC and Frankie and people like Trevor Horn and his?
I think I was, yeah. I think it was quite exciting at that time. It was all kind of new,
It was very bouncy. Did Arista? How did they receive the album? Did they enjoy
they liked it? Yeah, they were fine about it. But when it came to the second album, talking about the second album,
yes,
it was finding a producer. We couldn't find the producer, and we talked about John Cale being possible, and then we talked to the manager of a guy called Eddie Offord, who I remember from the 70s. He produced Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Yes,
right,
all those sort of prog rock bands. And now he was this big shit in LA. So we spoke to his management. It was like his manager and two bloody lawyers came to the meeting to talk about it, but he didn't come. So he was out. I didn't want to work with him. I would have loved to work with John Cale.
Yes, that would have been that would have been the one, wouldn't it? Really.
By the time it cut, I just got fed up with Arista and I decided to walk.
You just said that too.
I just walked away from the deal.
Blimey, God! And what did they say?
Well, they weren't happy, but they couldn't have been that unhappy. They let me go.
Yes, and I think they in the 80s they had some massive commercial success, didn't they? I can't remember who was.
Twins were their big.
Oh,
act at that time.
Yes. So did you keep the Fairlight?
No, that was when they took the Fairlight back.
That's
that was the nasty thing. Oh, right, not going to be with us anymore. We can have our Fairlight back, please.
Right, that was that. So then
that was a big loss. I wasn't happy about that.
No. So then the mid-80s, was that sort of a slight wilderness period at that point before your next collaboration?
Yeah, there was a period. There was about 6 months of being on the dole, back on the dole again, because I was skimping it.
Yes, quite.
And I needed a new contract. So I went for ZTT.
Did they say, brilliant, sign here, we're away?
No, well, yes and no. It was Morley, really, because Morley knew me and he'd interviewed me a few times. So he knew my work. But I sort of came to him an idea, really, rather than just a contract. I'd had this idea for a while of finding a good front person and just providing the songs, writing the songs and producing the songs, and then they fronted it.
Right, and was this Claudia?
Yeah, well, I mean, I hadn't thought about her because she was in propaganda at that time.
Because I went and bought, was it Dr. Mabuse, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, had that come out by then?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they were already, well, in fact, at that point, they were starting to split up, but I didn't know that at the time.
No, no, I
When
mean,
I spoke to Paul about it and told him what my idea was, I wanted to have this thing called Acts and blah, blah. He said, well, Claudia's available. Claudia, the band are splitting up. Claudia's leaving the band. Maybe she would be the person.
yes.
Yeah, fantastic.
And you said,
You know, I like her voice, and she's a good front person. I'd seen them live, and seen what she was like on stage and so on. So that was that really. Met
oh,
up with Claudia, and we had a good meeting, and off we went.
yes.
Started writing together right away.
God, that was fantastic. So you brought out Snobbery and Decay straight away, and then Absolutely Immune,
Yeah,
and then the album Laughter, Tears and Rage came out. So
yeah.
how were you sort of working at this point? Were you collaborating, or were you bringing the music to her? And
Well, it was kind of a combination. I think in the early stages, I already had a lot of stuff done. Snobbery and Decay, I'd already written the music for that, but it wasn't called that. It didn't have any words. I think it had one verse, which we
right,
still used, and we used that verse as the basis for everything else. But it was Paul that gave us the idea for it. He said, "Why don't you write a song called Snobbery and Decay? You can be snobbery and she can be decay, or no, she can be snobbery and you can be decay." Okay. And so that gave me an idea, and I was able to write the rest of the lyrics for it.
yes.
Threw in a couple of lines for the little rap bits, and that was it really. It was
Yeah,
pretty
and on
quick.
the follow-up single, which has got a very striking piece of artwork, absolutely immune. Did
Yeah,
you also got a video for that as well? So you were sort of
yeah, we did
bran
it.
branching out on all levels, and this was produced by Stephen Lipson.
Yeah.
So where did you go for this?
Now that was all done in Sam West.
Fantastic, with Patrick Lynch.
Yeah, Litchfield, he did the photographs.
Yes, my God, the budget was going way
That,
over.
you know, right, that sitting at a big table with the royalty, having Marks and Spencer's food.
God, I know. I mean, normally that was just where you went to, look at things if you were lucky. But yes, and
Yeah,
did
he didn't. He just kept calling me the man. He kept saying, "Could the man stand further back?"
is
Where's
how
the man? What man? Oh, me.
yes. Oh,
Okay.
God, that's so cheeky, isn't it? Really, could the
Yeah.
man?
Well,
Could he
he's
just?
that sort of. He's a glamour photographer. He was only
Yes.
interested in Claudia, really. You know, and he just wanted to keep me somewhere over there.
Yes. Well, I mean, they are kind of. I mean, that is a very. God, they are very striking pictures, but they're just all of Claudia, aren't they?
Mm. And that was okay. I didn't mind that.
No.
I was quite happy with that.
At that stage, were you picking up much traction as the sort of the duo?
No, the people from the press were not very kind to us, mainly because of Claudia, and because of Claudia's connection to Paul, because
Right,
the music press turned against Paul and started to see him as a bit of a McLaren type figure,
right,
and so Claudia took a bit of the brunt of that at that time. Because I remember an interview I did where Claudia had to go off somewhere for a minute or two, and the girl who was interviewing said, "What are you doing working with her?" I said, what are you talking about?
right. My God,
You shouldn't be working with her. You can do it on your own. So, well, I know I can, but I don't want to at this point in time. And I told Claudia about it later on, and it was quite hurtful to her, you know.
yeah, that was
Unnecessary, really. Because
very
when the girl wrote the article, she sort of, you could see there was a kind of bias against Claudia in some way. And I didn't like that.
No. God, that's yeah, God. I know there are people, are sad about the demise of the music papers. There are times when people go, yes, but look at what they wrote, how they used to
Yeah.
treat people, and it wasn't all that good. So it's good to be reminded that it was very fickle, and yes, they ruined people's musical kind of careers, really, didn't they? At that point. So when you
Yeah.
went to do the album, Laughter and Tears and Rage, was that did that feel quite a I don't know, hard process knowing that
Which album again, sorry?
the album that you brought out as the sort of the band act, did
Yeah.
that feel quite hard work knowing that the project wasn't sort of picking up that much traction?
Yeah, it was. But I mean, we didn't last very long anyway. Once the album came out, we'd done most of our promotions before the album came out because we went to do all these trips to Italy and France and stuff like that to do TV shows to promote Snowbury and Decay mostly, and all the interviews that we were doing at that time. We did loads and loads of interviews, so it sort of felt like there was a kind of a busy period. And then all of a sudden it was kind of like, that's it, it's over.
Blimey. And at that stage, dance music, ecstasy had come along, and dance music. Did
Yeah,
you?
we sort of suffered from that in a way, that came in just at the tail end.
Yes. Well, I
And
know a lot of my indie bands that I interviewed, it was 87 period where, there was a lot of bands who'd had that 3 to 5 year narrative of getting together, the single, the John Peel session, the album, tour, another album. And then that new wave of sort of young bands started to appear, and ecstasy came along, and dance music, and 4AD started bringing out bands like Pixies, and then there was this Seattle grunge scene. So a lot of bands just went, "Oh, forget it. We've had enough now. This is it. We can't do it anymore." Did that feel a bit like that for you at the late 80s?
yeah, pretty sort of, it did seem like a kind of end of an era. And I sort of thought, well, I've had my go. I've had my little fun.
Yes.
Maybe I should go and do something else now. And it sort of fell apart anyway. He said TT just fell apart as a label. They attempted a few things after that, but it just didn't work out.
No, that was
And by that time, I was long gone.
yeah, okay. So how did you navigate that late 80s and 90s? Had you just retired at this point?
Pretty much. I hadn't stopped working. I was still writing stuff. And I was getting into the new stuff that was happening, particularly the trip hop stuff.
Right.
I really looked at Portishead record and
Massive Attack.
yeah, and Maxine K, Tricky's album.
Oh God, that's amazing.
Really, really good stuff.
Yes.
I thought, well, there's actually a bit of saving grace here. There's things are going in interesting developing ways. And then I also discovered the future sound of London.
Of course.
It just blew me away. And that made me want to come back in and work again.
Yes. So then did you start sort of working on your next album, which is Parts of a Greater Whole? Was this your
Yeah. Well, there was one before that called Conversation Piece,
right?
but they were all kind of part of the same. I'd just been working. I sort of hemmed myself into my room with my gear. I just built all my gear around myself and just kept working every day and building up all these tracks and trying out things and exploring different possibilities. Mostly influenced from hearing all these new bands that were coming up, the likes of Orbital and that sort of bunch.
Was it 808 State and a guy called Gerald and
Yeah,
what
yeah.
about the Orb? Were they on your radar?
Yeah, the Orb, I like the Orb.
Yeah. So 90s, were you just there, sort of surrounded by machinery, sort of making
Yeah.
music?
But I didn't have a record contract. I didn't have a publishing contract. I had nothing. So I just worked every day doing this music, not even really knowing what I was going to do with it. It was only a couple of years later when I'd stopped working that I started to collate it all.
Right.
And I bought myself a little mini disc recorder and transferred everything into that, and it had a kind of digital editing.
Yes.
So I started cutting things together and putting things, and that's when Parts of a Greater Whole came out of that, really.
But Conversation Piece had sort of happened before.
Yeah, I'd already done all that. There were sort of big long form tracks, and that got a release by an Israeli record label, of all things.
Was that Avatar?
Avatar, yeah.
Right, and then
They were a dance label, and I don't really know why they approached me, because none of the other music on their label was anything like what I was doing. But they took it anyway, and they released it.
Fantastic. And then from then, did you start to sort of find a better pattern of sort of working, releasing at this point?
Well, yes and no. The Parts of a Greater Whole was on a label called Carvavina.
Yes.
That was a guy called Ian Peel, who had been a journalist before that, I think. He approached me to do something with him, and he put that out in a really good sleeve for it as well, I thought. And it didn't do very well.
Yeah.
No, he ended up sending all the CDs to me because he couldn't get rid of them.
Did they have
No promotion, you see. There was nothing. That had all gone. The music press wasn't interested in people like me anymore.
No.
Couldn't get anybody. All the journalists that I knew were all like TV's personalities and novelists now.
Yes, they all wanted to write that.
I couldn't get my foot in the door.
Right. God. Your cult status hadn't quite happened at this point, had it?
No. It takes a few years for that to happen. I didn't even know I had kicked in until somebody told me.
You're a cult artist.
Mm.
Yes, I made it. That would be great, wouldn't it? So then after that, did you then sort of go back to just releasing it on your own label and sort of taking in charge?
Yeah. I didn't even release it. I didn't even release anything. I just put it up online for people to hear. And in fact, one of the one that came after that was one called From Sci-Fi to Barfly, which is a much better record. That was released for a while by a Viennese label.
Yes, my God, that's amazing. Then from there, you brought out 1991, 1982. At this point, you were absolutely. Were these just all parts of your archive that you were just?
That was most of it was demo material.
Right.
But 1984? That was the album that I'd made for Cherry Red, or it was going to be the album that I made for Cherry Red but then I went to Arista.
Was that one that features Forgive and Forget?
Yeah.
And Shooting at the Moon and For the Show. So that was kind of part of that project.
Yeah.
God, that's amazing, actually. But then your later work, Reach and Never Quite, and then Emotional Hardware, these kind of was this kind of newer material that you were?
This all in the last 10 years.
Yes.
Okay. Emotional Hardware 6 years ago I wrote and recorded.
Yes, Factory Ghost, Dark Days. Were you had you changed your approach to sort of writing at this stage?
Yeah, I got a whole different system of working. It's all done on a laptop now.
Right.
I don't have any external synths at all. Almost all inside the computer. And
what software are you using?
Ableton.
Right. Did you pick that?
Standard. Everybody uses Ableton.
Has that changed your life?
It hasn't changed my life. It's changed the way I make music, yeah, for sure.
Right. Yes.
Well, so I'd say it allows me to make music the way I really want to make it. I'm not stuck to any particular route. I can go any. You can do anything with Ableton. You can create your own work system where you can work in an old-fashioned sequencer style, or you can do it like a tape recorder style, or a kind of combination of all of them. And the way I do it is I just make loads and loads of loops, loads and loads of tracks, throw them all in there, and then put them all in little boxes. And I have a thing called a what's it called?
Yeah, so you'll have to look over the
You'll
corner
look at
there.
it, see what it's called. A launch pad.
Right.
It's just a little digital keyboard thing, and you can trigger the loops and the pieces that I've got in it. So you can have pieces that are a whole, like 16 bars or 24 bars, and a 1 bar, 2 bar, 3 bar, put them all together, and then just trigger them at different times, or put them all on top of each other.
Yes.
And at different loop lengths, so that when the loops come back around, you get a different shape changing. It's the
Yes.
thing people used to do with tape loops back in the 60s.
God, you must enjoy that.
Yeah.
And did you and during that this last 5 years, obviously started with the lockdown, have you been writing and recording quite a lot at the moment?
Yeah, I've done quite a bit. There's a lot of stuff ready to come out.
Yes.
And the one that I did since the album called Death of a Dream, that's quite new. That's only about a year old.
Death of a Dream. My God, I don't think we've
It's on Bandcamp. It's
right.
most
Is all your material on Bandcamp?
not all of it. There's more to go.
Right.
I've got a collection I'm putting up that I recorded in 1989. That was the very last thing I did it was the first thing I did after I left ZTT. But I was still in touch with Cloudy at the time, and so I used some of her equipment to record it.
Right.
And when I did it and forgot about it. So I do this all the time. I record whole groups of music, and then something else takes my fancy, and I go and do that, and I forget about that until about 2 or 3 years later, or in this case, 20 years later. I found it on a disc, stuck it in and played it. I thought, fuck, that's brilliant. Why didn't I do something with that? Well, of course, I didn't do something because at the time I didn't have a deal.
No, and I guess it was yes, a difficult. So Death of a Dream. God, lyrically, these are dark times, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm in a very dark place these days, I'm afraid.
Right. Yes.
I've become a man in black.
Yeah, well, I can, yes. It's so with your lyrics, do you take quite a long time to bring them together, or are they
Sometimes, yeah. That particular one, that was written over probably months, because one of the things I do, what a lot of writers do, I think, is I hear little lines in my head, or somebody says something on a film or on a TV show or something. I think, well, that's good. I like that. I write it down, I just scribble it down. And then maybe 2 or 3 days later, something else will come into my mind, and I'll write that down under it.
Yes, my God.
And so after maybe a couple of months, page is full, but it's all bits I've written down at different times. And then I look at it and I think, good God, that actually makes sense. Actually, linking, it's got something to do with what I'm looking for when I hear something being said, or when I think of something. It's all the same. It's coming from the same place. You know what I mean?
Yes. So is this are you writing in the third person, or is this very much your emotional state?
I think it's my emotional state. You know,
Right.
I'm not happy about getting old.
No, well, actually, that is one of the things that's quite irritating on a daily basis, isn't it? Really, thinking, how the hell did that happen? That's not right. So with this, was the death of a dream? Was that sort of a lot of stuff that you just had building up that you just?
Yeah.
Did you have the title, or did you sort of bring the title later?
Well, the title came from a line that I'd scribbled down at the very end, right at the bottom of the page, is Death of a Dream. And then it carries on after that.
Yes.
I thought, well, that's a good title for the thing because it sums up basically what I'm saying here.
Blimey,
It's just kind
yeah.
of like my little look at what's going on in the world and how it's kind of affecting me.
Yes, God, it is. Well, yes, I sort of recommend anyone to go and have a listen now on Bandcamp and buy a copy. That's so. So with that release, which came out last year, is there much else that's you've got lined up to be released?
Yeah, well, like I say, there's that one that I recorded 20 years ago. Will be going up as a sort of mini album, and then there's another collection I've got that are all from different periods, that tracks that never made it on the records. And again, now I'm listening to them and thinking, why didn't I put that on the album? That was bloody good. It's a great track. But
Yes.
usually the reasons I never did was because they didn't fit with the other tracks that I was doing at the time. You know,
Yeah.
like it would be there's one that's a big epic ballad, sort of Scott Walker type, and it didn't fit in with the other tracks that I was writing at that time. So I just
Right.
kind of put it to the side and thought, oh, I'll come back to that later.
Yes. You have very striking artwork. Who's your where do you is it you or do you have
No, it's my brother. My brother does the artwork.
Right, because God, it's awesome, isn't it?
He's good. Yeah.
He's very good. I mean, all and those portraits as well is extraordinary. I mean,
Moment Five is a name he operates under.
right. Well, there you go. My God. So looking at 2026, then there's still quite a lot more to sort of to look forward to.
Yeah, there's those ones I've just mentioned, and there's unfinished tracks that I was doing at the time when I was doing Death of a Dream. So they're in a similar kind of vein.
Right.
I mean, I've moved away from this the standard songwriting process. You know, verse, chorus, middle eight, chorus. It's it's too hack now.
Yes. Well, it's interesting because a few months ago I did this interview with David J. He was in in Bauhaus. There was no there, just Bauhaus, and he did an album which is kind of a lot of music, but with obviously people love cellos, don't they? But his kind of poetry and sort of processing a lot of his stuff and death of his mother, and I mean, it's kind of it was kind of interesting. It was all very emotional stuff, but also he just wanted to get his poetry out and set to music. So have you sort of become more of a poet than a songwriter, do you feel?
I think so, yeah. Is that I do? I mean, it used to be the case that I would write the song, the lyric with the music, maybe sitting at the keyboard or playing the guitar or whatever, and just writing in a standard fashion. And I'd improvise a basic thing and then I would write lyrics later.
Yes.
But now I tend to write lyrics first, which is definitely different to the way I did it before.
Yes.
So that it comes out more abstract now. It's more of an abstract experience. But I find it's really better for actually placing it musically. Because the lyrics give me something to go on.
Do you ever use the sort of the cut-up technique with any of your writing?
I tried it a couple of times, but it didn't really work for me.
Right. It's interesting, isn't it? Yes. Well, God, that's amazing. Well, look, thank you. Well, Thomas, thank you ever so much for your time. I mean, I think we've got there. This is good. I hope that wasn't too boring and irritating for you.
Really nice talking to you.
Well, I did. At the beginning, you thought, "Oh my God," when
I said I didn't want to talk about the past.
Yes, I thought that's a good start. But did you get a copy of the book?
What is that?
Oh, that's the book about.
No, I haven't seen that.
Yes, the Mike at Cherry Red. Someone's actually did the whole book about him. So and that label. So I've thought, oh, this was very interesting. You got to get these things, haven't you? Like I said, everyone's kind of doing archiving and sort of, I suppose actually what it is, I think, is people are starting to appreciate stuff that happened then, which you take for granted, and then look back and think, actually, that was quite interesting. Or in my case, the things that I missed the first time because actually it wasn't on the internet, it wasn't streamed, finding stuff, you might have heard about something, but you still weren't going to be able to hear it, whereas now you can hear everything straight away, can't you? Whereas back then, so I missed a lot, and then I've gone back and gone, God, this is quite interesting. And there was lots of, because music was quite tribal, and so there was music from a different scene that I thought, no, I don't want to listen to that because that's not my scene. But now I think, oh, that would have been so much better to have been less uptight and have just enjoyed the ride, really. But
I used to do that at the time. I used to jump about tribes.
I think that was the better way.
I'll be a new romantic this month, and I'll just listen to Spandau Ballet, and, Blue Rondo, all that talk, and those kind of people.
Yes.
And then I get bored with that, so maybe I'll be a Frankie Goes to Hollywood this week. That's what the 80s were like. People were like that.
Frankie says yes. Well, yes, absolutely. But yeah, it was kind of good. But luckily, John Peel was my person that I put my trusty TDK D90 cassette in, record it, and listen to it, and think, oh yeah, there's a couple of really good things on there. And it could have been anything from, the indie pop to the Bundu Boys to Augustus Pablo to, Bulgarian folk. I quite like that kind of, you didn't know what you were going to like, but there would be something that jump out, and you thought, actually, that's really interesting, and I really miss John Peel because he just seemed to have that obsession with wanting to find
nobody like him,
and that's a bit
nobody's
annoying.
taking his place either.
No, and it all seems a bit much. And then what's happened? And is Robert? Oh, Robert passed away, didn't he, 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah.
God, that must
back 20 years ago now.
What, Robert? When did he pass away?
Was it 2001, 2002?
Yeah. Had you kept in touch with him at all?
We really lost contact by that time. I hadn't spoken to him in 10 years.
Right. Yeah.
We had a kind of bit of a falling out.
Right. Well, yes, these things happen, don't they? Never mind.
We never managed to make it up before.
Oh, yes. Have you managed to sort of keep in touch with many, or reconnect with many people from your past at all?
Not really, no. I mean, living up here in Scotland, you're sort of disconnected.
Yes.
I can't go and see them. And I suppose we could keep in contact online, but never really think to do it,
No, it's tricky. It's tricky. But
plus, most of the people that I'm thinking of, they're all busy, doing their thing, touring the world and making new albums of their own.
Yes, this is true. But I will send you a link to this trailer for Rima Rima, and then hopefully you'll be able to locate it and amuse yourself for sort of 90 minutes watching this, wondering how the hell could they get a film out of a band that lasted 8 months and did one album EP. But they did manage it. Yes. Anyway, look, I'll let you go. But look, thank you ever so much for your time. And yes, and I'll possibly keep in touch. But anyway, look, take care and look forward to your next releases on Bandcamp.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye. And that was me in conversation with Thomas Leer, finding more about his life in music. This has been the C86 show, David Eastaugh. So if you want to contact me, you can on any of those social media platform sites. Just do C86 show. Also, all these interviews have been archived on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean. It's true. Have a great week. Stay safe.